Welcome to the course on writing for mass media. Today we are going to discuss on the issue of ethics. How is ethics relevant while writing for the mass media? The title of this course is Ethics in Writing for Mass Media. This module engages with what is ethics, how is it relevant in the field of writing, instances of ethical violation, and measures to be ethical while you write for the media, whether it is print, broadcast, or the internet. The subject expert for today is Professor F.B. Khan. He is a renowned photographer and media expert, currently teaching at AJK MCRC Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. And I am Sakshi Mandwal. The areas covered in the module are description of ethics, relationship between ethics and technology, media ethics and ethics in writing, plagiarism, citation, copyright, contracts between publisher and author, issue of ethics across various mediums, paid news, cross-media ownership, defamation, trial by media, contempt of court, media laws. A specific reference to ethics in writing is given in all sections. What is ethics? In its simplest way, ethics can be described as a system of moral principles. The decision-making and ways in which and the way one individual leads their life can be called as ethics. The etymology of word ethics is from Greek word ethos or ethikos. Ethics can also be described as a moral philosophy and is also a philosophical discipline. This moral philosophy is concerned with the goodness of the individuals and the society. Any system of moral values or principles also falls into the category of ethics. Ethics broadly influences in life with regards to issues pertaining to language, the responsibilities and rights, measures to lead a good life, and moral decisions and choice. And ethical decision making is an after product of one's culture, religion, and philosophy. One should not confuse ethics with laws. Laws are as opposite to ethics, something forced by the government. Laws may fail in maintaining the conduct, but ethics cannot. What is ethical and what not? Since time immemorial, human beings are concerned with the question of what is ethical and what not in their life. This issue of what is ethical and what not can be considered as an ethical dilemma. It is like a decision or choice making issue between two moral imperatives. Ethical dilemma is also known as ethical paradox in philosophy, and it often lies between the imperatives of what is acceptable or preferable. An ethical system or moral code is refuted by invoking ethical dilemmas. An individual encounters ethical dilemma on a daily basis. Thoughts like should you copy your assignment from your friend to issues on cloning, doing war are all examples for that. From the recent context, the abortion debates in Ireland that followed the death of an Indian origin doctor is a classic example of this instance. It was the Industrial Revolution that followed where the debates on ethics and technology showed a spark in the society. The primary aim of ethical debates on technology was for the responsible use of technology. The moral responsibility of the devices created then were sought by its creators, and this led to further debates on ethics and technology. An attempt to lead the science and technology in rationality, and this is considered as the beginning of ethics in technology. The scholars of various disciplines from humanities to social sciences engaged with questions on ethics and technology. Science and Technology (STS) gave a focus on inquiries on ethics and technology. The debates on ethics and writing for media falls into the category of media ethics and laws. Before discussing these in detail, a broad idea about media ethics and laws are given in the section Media Ethics. Media ethics belongs in the broader category of applied ethics in the category of technoethics. Traditional media like print, newspaper, magazine, tabloid, broadcast media, television, radio, online media, web portals, news, websites, film, theatre are supposed to follow the ethical standards. The basic aim of media ethics is standing for universal respect for life and the rule of law and legality. Media ethics is the core foundation on any academic course on journalism to ensure that the journalists of tomorrow are ethical enough. Privacy, news manipulation, and conflict with law are few of the recurring themes with regards to media ethics. Sting operations, investigative journalisms are often between the boundaries of what is ethical and what not is. Being a fly on the wall is the basic advice any journalism student is supposed to adhere to. The question is, will it be ethical always to be a fly on the wall when journalism is put into practice? The fiction written by Robinson Crusoe, known as Daniel Defoe, was sold as non-fiction and packed in 1719, and this is considered as one of the first instances of media ethics. There was a recent report in Al Jazeera online about how a reporter went undercover to cover the life of a young woman who were caught in a sex racket in Mexico. A detailed report covering all the aspects of the lives of these women were written by this journalist. As the report gained momentum, will it affect the life security of women who were portrayed in that story? Or will it support them as government can ensure safety to them? This is where the question of media ethics lies. A history of media ethics. During the era that print was the only medium, political orientation highly reflected the media content. The search for truth was based on political agenda. The usage of hoaxes by journalists in 1830s can be considered as an example of ethical violation. The usage of yellow journalism during the 19th century is ethically questionable. The sensational slanting of news and usage of headlines without reference to the content made ethics a matter of concern. The sales of newspapers were highly dependent on this. An increased state of ethical violation leads to the formation of certain codes to be followed in journalism practice. Known as the Code of Ethics in Media, it was formulated by Hutchins Commission in 1947. The primary aim of the commission was to bring in responsibility and accountability in journalism. Canons of Journalism was the code of ethics formed by American Society of Newspaper Editors ASNE in 1922. An advanced version of the same was followed in 1975 and is known as Statement of Principles. The Society of Professional Journalists followed the pattern and made another code of ethics. The 1996 version of this code is in effect till date. The aim of this code was in the truth factor of reporting. The motto of the code being Seek Truth and Report. The Motion Picture Code of 1930 was first of its kind as it dealt with the content of broadcast like violence and explicit content. History of Media Ethics in India. The history of media ethics in India is parallel to the history of Indian journalism itself. During the pre-independence time, the primary aim of the newspapers were nationalist. But after independence, the ethical standard of the newspapers started to deteriorate as false advertisements, puffery and propaganda took up more space. The emergence and popularity of the broadcast medium enhanced the existing situation and the ethical standard of media remained as a question. The Code of Ethics for Journalists in India was drafted as per the suggestions of All India Newspaper Editors Conference AINEC and the Indian Federation of Working Journalists. The code was formulated by the United Nations Subcommittee on Freedom of Information and of the Press. The final draft of the code was submitted in 1954 by the Press Commission of India. Examples of violation of media ethics in India. Sting operation is an investigative form of journalism where the journalist will cover the issue in undercover. Sting operations in India became popular after Tehelka did the Operation West End in 2001. The ethics of using sting for journalistic agenda was questioned following this incident. It was also considered as a one-sided affair that affects the impartial nature of journalism. The methods used for the sting, like hidden cameras, violates the rights of even unsuspecting victims. Stories were written by all media houses on this case, and it was widely carried out even in the regional media. Eventually, public lost interest in sting operations as it increased in number. The Aarushi Talwar murder case is another classic example of media ethics, as media crossed all limits of doing its role. A trial by media happened in the crime scene, and even the crime scene was adversely affected. The media pronounced guilt and innocence without any substantial evidence. Finally, CBI went into the Supreme Court that passed an order to prevent sensational reporting of the same. The coverage of 26 by 11 attacks in Mumbai 2008 by television channels received a lot of flack, as the coverage by media without setting any boundary line ended up in helping the terrorists. In other reports, the print media reporting was considered as more ethical than the broadcast media. Following this, the News Broadcasters Association (NBA) issued a code of conduct that needed to be followed during the emergencies. Ethics in writing for media. Ethical writing is clear, accurate, fair, and honest. Ethical writing is a reflection of ethical practice. Ethical writing refers to the honest and right attitude in writing and while using written materials. By writing ethically, one is expected to keep the trust, values, and social responsibility of writing. Issues of copyrights, plagiarism, proper citation, making the content error-free are some of the major areas to take care in ethics of writing. The contract of writing. Keeping up the contract of written material is an important issue pertaining to the ethics of writing. The violation of a contract can lead to copyright violations, which is a serious offense. Be it a manuscript for a magazine, journal, a research paper, or a grant proposal, there will be a contract between the writer and the publisher via an agent. Non-maintenance of a contract and its violation can lead to serious flack from both the parties. Maintaining the deadline of the submission as per the contract is also necessary to avoid ending up in the court. The disagreement occurred between the celebrated writer Vikram Seth and Penguin and Random Publishing House regarding the deadline to submit the upcoming work. A Suitable Girl can be a classic example of such disagreements. He was asked to return his advance of $1.7 million that he took for writing this book. Copyright. Copyright issues are of primary ethical concern in the area of ethics and writing for mass media. The primary issue of ethics starts from copyright issue. It is a form of intellectual property. It is also a legal right that grants exclusive right to the use and distribution of property. For example, a photograph, music, book, etc. The rights are limited for a time period. Reproduction of the copyrighted content in any manner is a punishable offense. Copyright is often shared among multiple authors. Relevance of copyright with regards to writing for mass media. Copying a book content, article, journal, illegal downloading, referring without proper citation can lead into copyright issues. Even if you are writing for a newspaper or a magazine, make sure you are citing and referring your sources properly. An example of copyright issue is DU photocopy case. The prominent publishers of Oxford University Press, Cambridge University Press, United Kingdom, Cambridge University Press India Private Limited, Taylor and Francis Group, United Kingdom, and Taylor and Francis Books India Private Limited took it to the Delhi High Court under the Indian Copyright Act 1957. The copied course bundles were provided by Rameshwari Photocopy Service to the students of Delhi School of Economics. Interestingly, the case was won by the Rameshwari Photocopy Service on the grounds of accessibility to information. Plagiarism. Plagiarism is the act of stealing and using of another person's idea without proper referencing and citation. It is a form of literary theft. The presentation of an existing idea as new and original also falls into the category of plagiarism. Plagiarism is a serious offense and cannot be distinguished as only as a mere copying or borrowing of somebody's work. Failing to put a quotation mark, copying without crediting, using somebody's work as their own, providing incorrect information can all be considered as plagiarism. Some of the plagiarisms checking software are Dupli Checker, CopyLeaks, Paperator, Plagiarisma, Plagiarism Checker, Plagium, Plague Scan, Plague Tracker. Advanced software needs to be paid for getting access, and often educational institutions, libraries have access to it. If you are a registered student or a member of a library, consult your librarian for further details. A percentage of plagiarism will be available by using these software. Some of the major cases of plagiarism in media include accusation on India Today in 2010 for copying 12 sentences in editorial column, and Indian-American journalist Fareed Zakaria admitting to have done plagiarism. Plagiarism has become a norm in online media, including in news portals. Proper measures must be done to ensure the originality of the contents published online. Citation. Citation is the primary measure to be taken to ensure ethics while writing for the media. The information regarding the originality of content is done with the help of citation. The information of author, information on source, name of book, newspaper, magazine, website, conference, proceeding, etc., details of the publisher, year, and the city are some of the commonly given publication details. A published or yet to be published source must be properly cited. Quotes, paraphrases, using of another person's ideas and thoughts all must be cited. These are citation manuals available that has set a standard on citation. Based on these manuals, the citation style varies. Particular styles are used for specific academic disciplines like social sciences, humanities, and sciences. Depending on the manual, the citation style varies. Example for citation styles include APA, Chicago, Turabian, MLA, and so on. Let's see the difference between the two styles. APA, Little J, 2013, Journalism, Ethics and Law. Stories of Media Practice, Australia, OUP, Chicago. Little J9, Journalism, Ethics and Law. Stories of Media Practice, Australia, OUP, 2013. Truth. There is a truth factor to any news story. A reporter should maintain the standard of ethics while reporting and editing to ensure the objectivity of journalism is upheld. There should not be bias in a news story, and it shouldn't be one-sided. Stereotypes. Stereotypes can be defined as portraying a thing or a person in a mundane and oversimplified way. A writer should restrain himself or herself in enhancing stereotypical norms. Even till date, India is written as the land of snake charmers by media in the West. Paid news. Paid news is the phenomenon of systematic engagement of mainstream media outlets in publishing favorable articles in exchange for payment. The Press Council of India defines paid news as any news or analysis appearing in any media, print and electronic, for a price in cash or kind as consideration. Articles in newspapers, magazines, and the electronic media are made by paying for it. It is more like an advertisement, but there will not be any hint that it is an advertisement. A serious threat to democratic processes and financial markets are done by paid news, as it misinforms audiences and undermines their freedom of choice. A direct influence of such paid news is reflected in elections. The Parliamentary Standing Committee on Information Technology in 2013 has brought out its 47th report on the phenomenon of paid news, where it has highlighted the dangerous trend of presenting paid for information as news that has spread at remarkable pace in some parts of media. The report also outlined the practice of private treaties, where a non-media company transfers shares to a media company in exchange for advertisements, space, and favorable coverage. The Election Commission has constituted district-level committees to scrutinize newspapers for such items. The recent sting operation by Cobra Post reveals the massive scale in which paid news is published in today's media. Paid news can also include photographs and graphic content. Publishing of a fake, manipulated, one-sided propaganda photograph can be more of an advantage, as visual contents are often believed as carriers of truth. P. Sainath is a journalist who has worked relentlessly against paid news in print media. Cross-media ownership. The ownership of multiple media businesses by a single person or a corporation can be defined as cross-media ownership. If the ownership of newspapers, FM radio, cable television, and film corporations are in the hands of one person, it is called as cross-media ownership, leading to a monopoly in ownership. It will have a negative effect on the media freedom, and the news coverage will be severely affected. Public scrutiny of media decreases, resulting in the under-regulation of media. As for now, no restrictions regarding cross-media ownership exists. Anybody can own print, television, and radio together in the country. The existing regulations regarding are based on direct to home platforms based on vertical integration and number of licenses allowed to FM radio operators in a given area. Proper research on the existing media scenario must be taken into account, as a haste decision on regulating cross media ownership can end up in increased state control and decreased freedom of the press. The consolidation of market share of a single media group in a specific regional area also must be taken into account, as opinions can be manipulated. Cross-media ownership has already led to issues concerning media ethics, as even propaganda published through various mediums like print, broadcast and online mediums repeatedly has a more convincing power on the public, especially if it is visual content. Trial by media. Trial by media can be defined as a direct impact of any media like television, newspaper to affect the reputation of a person or an organization by creating a widespread perception of guilt or innocence before or after a verdict in a court of law. This section of media takes innocent until proven guilty by law for granted under trial by media. Thus, media puts an unnecessary pressure on lawyers, judges who are dealing with such cases. The fundamental rights of the accused are severely affected by a trial run by the media. Even if the term is coined in the late 20th and early 21st century, its influence can be seen in the print era as well. A major example of trial by media are murder cases. Jessica Lal murder cases, Arushi Talwar murder case, ISRO espionage case are all examples for these. Defamation. The slander or libel done to damage the reputation of an individual, thing or organization can be called as defamation. Fake sting operations, trial by media, fake news can all lead to defamation with regards to media. The civil defamation is dealt with under the law of torts, whereas criminal defamation is an offence under section 499 of the Indian Penal Code. No special status is given for a journalist under defamation laws in India. The Editors Guild of India has demanded to decriminalize defamation as it pertains to journalists. A comprehensive review is required with regards to defamation and media. Defamation is an important concept with regards to writing for media. Tabloid-style journalism is often used by journalists to defame a person, thing, or even incident. Journalists must refrain from such practices. Contempt of court. Contempt of court is considered as a serious offence in India. Not respecting and obeying the court of law and its officers falls into the category of this. The aim of this law is to maintain the public confidence in the administration of justice. This law falls into the category of Article 19(2) to the freedom of speech and expression. With regards to media publishing matters that lower the authority of any court, scandalizing or tending to scandalize, prejudicing or tending to prejudice, obstructing or tending to obstruct any judicial proceedings or the administration of justice is contempt of court. Justice Kurrain of Supreme Court has made a judgment that trial by media can be a form of contempt of court in 2015. In a judgment based on 2007 report, the editor, a journalist, printer, publisher and cartoonist of Midday were sent to 4 months in jail. It was for publishing cartoon on the sons of the retired Chief Justice of India, Y.K. Sabharwal, who has allegedly profited from a deal via their father. The above mentioned ethical concerns are applicable to every media, whether it be broadcast, print or news media. The ethics in journalism must uphold the 5 principles of journalism: truth and accuracy, independence, fairness and impartiality and accountability. Media laws. Given below are some media laws in India. Though there are no particular laws with regards to ethics on writing for media, provisions regarding this can be found in these: the Press and Registration of Books Act 1867, the Press Council Act 1978, the Right to Information Act 2005, Copyright Act 1957. But are these laws enough to ensure the questions on ethics is maintained? Making a law cannot promise ethics of a society. It is up to the practitioners of journalism and media houses to ensure that the media ethics are maintained, and laws set a code for this. Ethics of gender and writing for media. The issue of gender is of serious concern when dealing with ethics in writing for media. Women are often considered as easy targets by the media. The objectification of women is done by media through various unethical ways of using writings, graphics, and designs. Even in advertisements, such malpractices are done to maintain the saleability of a product. The taglines used in advertisements are often in objectionable way. Children are also easy targets, and ethical standards must be maintained while making content. Contents with violence and abuse must be censored from kids. Listening and growing up with such violent content can have an impact on children. There are certain standards that media must follow based on ethics, like writing the details of a rape survivor or a victim, revealing the details of a juvenile accused are all punishable by law. Media must refrain from such acts. The consent of the person featured in any news item, be it soft news, hard news, or even a human interest feature story, is of utmost importance. The privacy of those mentioned in the news story must be maintained in any medium where the news is featured. Conclusion. Like in any field, ethics is an important thing to be considered while dealing with writing for media. As media content can have a wider influence on a reader, leading to an impact in society, the journalistic writing must be ethical in all aspects. That is all that we had for you in this episode. Till the next time, it's a goodbye.